How's it going, everyone? Meta analysis for the month. Yet again, I hope it'll help you with your last week of ranked grinding. We're using TEPPEN link in the description. Check it out. Doesn't update every day because I can't play every day. That's just how it goes. But we got about 150, just under, data points for this month. So huge thank you to Luzon Nexus and Mr. Mark Bada for helping us out gathering some data submissions. There is the data submissions page that you can go to. You can see how to submit. You just take a screenshot when you get the Versa screen, send it in the Dropbox file request, and help us get some sweet data on what the meta looks like. It's gonna be a quick one this week because things haven't really changed that much. I mean, Black is still dominating, the Queen still reigns, Oichi, the King still reigns, Wesker, and Shieldspire, Yawn, Raging Demon. You can see it all right there. The top 5 decks, I'm pretty sure exactly the same as last month. Let's actually extend this back to April 1st. So we got a little bit of change there. And the new balance changes, new ultimate weapon, new Kikosho. How did that fit and everything? They actually brought them up. I mean, these guys were just, we weren't seeing them at all before. So the fact that they are actually breaking into this top 10 graph is a big deal. It means they've done some good balance changes. Hoping to see more changes like this that not only make the decks way more fun, make them way more viable, we get just more diversity of decks that people can play and people can enjoy. You'll love it. So this month, not that much has changed in terms of top, but there's definitely some more diversity with Ultimate Weapon Kikosho coming out. So let's actually compare to the last month's data and see how things have kind of shifted. We've got DWP, Uroboros, Raging Demon, Shieldspire, Yawn, and then Antibody Activation. Just kind of keep those guys in mind. So then we'll go ahead and bring this back there, and then bring that back there. So we're looking at all of March. So DWP, of course, still the Queen. We've got Mirage, Decoy, and Blackout up here. That's mostly because it was the new release of Ada Wong. Everyone was trying her out, and then once they realized she's not that great, they dropped her. So I think you can actually see that if we go here, kind of into the middle of the month, like boom, they're gone. People just dropped it real quick, and this second half looks much more similar to what we're seeing in the current month with Shieldspire, Uroboros, Raging Demon, and then Yawn down there. Antibody Activation was popular last month, but has definitely dropped down a bit. It's still there, I think, in the top 6 or so for this month, but definitely moved down. Shieldspire, Yawn, and Raging Demon moving up in the world, so good on them. Good on them. Let's get back to this month. Check some things out. And you can kind of see the graph of how things have progressed. I mean, it's pretty interesting. It varies a lot data week to week, just because you don't always play the same decks. There's definitely different trends. As you can see, Uroboros went all the Uroboros, and then it's kind of dying down a bit, and then Shieldspire's up and down and whatnot. So one thing that we haven't looked at in the past months that I've been kind of forgetting, my bad, but I really want to look at this month is the ranked breakdowns, how things are changing within each kind of segment of ranked, and what's popular in different areas. So let's check out below champion. Pretty much the same. Antibody Activation and Ultimate Weapon. Red decks, even Great Divine Intervention. Red decks definitely much more popular in this part of the world. So that's definitely interesting. The green decks really not doing that well. Yawn and Shieldspire aren't even on here. So below champion, doing their own thing, but definitely following the black trend for sure. How about the low champion? This is kind of standard champion range, I think, for most people. This pretty much the same. Tenkuha jumping in here. That's really interesting for sure. But Uroboros is actually king. So in this area, Uroboros is the deck to watch out. I mean, DWP is still taking up a huge chunk. These guys about 25% by themselves. Yawn doing well. But Tenkuha is the interesting one here that's kind of popping in this higher realm. And I think that people are just playing growth or slow and just having some fun with purple. Purple still having having a good time out here in the low champions, but overall, purple not doing too hot. And then in the higher ranks, oh my god, when you get to the peak, the top 5 decks stay the same, just in a different order. But Smear, Wail, and Perish, look at this. All by itself, almost 30%. It's just going to show you how insane this deck is. All the high ranking, the people getting to the high ranked ladder points, they're all using this. Well, they're not all using, but they're mostly using Despair, Wail, and Perish. And in a close second is Shieldspire and Raging Demon being tied there. These 3 decks make up 50% of what you're going to see from the high ranked players. And then Celestial Envoy Miracle showing up a little bit as well. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch out for as rotation happens. But before we talk about rotation and how it's going to affect these top 5 decks, let me give you the deck lists and QR codes for all these decks. Because it's pretty much the same as before, we're not going to do any matches this time around. Just get through this real quick. All of the decks for today are brought to you by people who have placed well in the Japanese community tournaments. I think some are open to all regions, but I don't know enough. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the names for these because my Japanese seal is not that good. Not good enough, but I hope you enjoy them and I hope you appreciate what the Japanese community has to offer for us today. Okay, starting it out with Oichi, pretty standard stuff here. You got the zombies, you got the Junies, you got the Alfreds, you got the Gates, you got the Foxes, and of course a lot of destruction. I think something newer that we're seeing this meta kind of as a staple has come in is the new vials, which when they die you explore for a corrosion, which kills a 5-cost unit, and that really helps out against the Shieldspire matchups where you need to kill 5 costs really badly, and if you can't kill them, they can just take over the game. And as you saw, it's taken up 10% of those high ranked players, and so you gotta have an answer for that, and that vial comes in clutch there. Other than that, pretty much the same as last month. So here's a cue card if you want to play the best deck in the game. It's pretty convincing at this point. Alright, our second deck, Uroboros. This deck is just a powerhouse, but only gonna last you 1 more week. So here's a QR code if you want to get some last runs in with this, okay? Want to get some last play time with Uroboros before it gets destroyed by rotation. Now, of course, you can still play limited cards later, but it's gonna be a rough time. Anyway, this is pretty classic. I don't think this deck's really changed. You got cycle powers, you got the new Bison, you got, you know, it's, I don't know what to say at this point. I don't know what to say. So, next deck. So, we've got Shieldspire. This is the red-green version. I know that there is a green version, but if we're talking about the deck that the ranked grinders, the top players that are playing all the time are playing, it's got to be this red-green Legends deck. You play Legends, you keep them safe, and you get the wins. That's how you do it. Here's the QR code for this. I'm thinking about doing a video on this deck eventually, or a style like this, but I'm not that good at it, so I'm hoping to get a little collab action going on. We'll see where the future takes us with that though. Next is Yawn. This deck is super solid. I think this deck probably has the most stable matchup spread chart. You can deal with almost anything. You get a lot of powerhouse units that come online with memory or with a lot of actions. You got seals to deal with anything you want. And you got natural cycle to mess up these top 2 decks, right, that are bringing things back from their grave. You just get them back in the deck so they can't revive. Puts you in a good spot. Gives all your guys +1/+1 bonus so you're making these crazy trades. Very stable deck in my opinion. So check it out. Give it a try. Give it a spin. It's a lot of fun. And our last deck for today, rounding out the black deck, is Raging Demon. Very similar in composition to DWP, but you've got a lot more Ascension stuff. The Mastery of the Hado giving you some more MP recursion. Just being able to single target destroy anything gives this a bit of a wider matchup spread in my opinion, because DWP can really struggle. You know, you get the random like big resonate deck or like something that has a big unit, and if you don't have the right cards you can't kill it. But Akuma, That Raging Demon, he's got the hero art on lock, and you could just beat people down with foxes too, like pow pow pow, oh they killed it, ascend over, kill their blocker, more pow pow pow. Try it out, very solid deck, very fun. Hope you enjoy it. And now it's time for the final segment of today's video, which is what cards are these top decks gonna lose in rotation, and we'll do a little discussion about whether I think that they will be able to hold. So we've got Oichi, Despair, Wail, and Perish. Look at all these red X's. Junie is gone. Alfred, both the Ashfords are gone. Alfred and Alexia are gone. Fate of the Unworthy, get it out of here. Vile MK2, get it out of here. Cruel Game, Akuma, no way. So the thing here, the key here, I think, is noticing most of the destruction. Alfred destroying 3 costs. Alexia destroying 5 costs. Vile destroying 5 costs. Fate of the Unworthy, just an excellent, efficient removal card. They're all see ya. So this deck is going to really lose its ability to control the field and its dominance that shuts out other decks from playing 3 costs. And I think that when other decks are going to be able to play more 3 costs safely, it's going to be able to bring them up to compete with this deck. Because then they're just losing value, you know. 4 costs tend to not be as stat efficient as 3 costs. So even if they have good effects, you end up losing the trade war by Oichi just having so many units. And I think if a deck like the Shieldspire deck that plays a bunch of like 5 cost legendaries and tries to beat down with that, if that stays around, losing Vile and Alexia is going to really hurt this kind of black control strategy, because you're going to have to play like obliterations and you're gonna have to play more. It's gonna be harder. Okay, it's just gonna be harder. So I think the deck will stick around. They'll just change it up a bit. Probably switch to the Spirit Engine. I would suspect that is a very strong deck still. And who knows what the new set is gonna have to offer for this powerhouse Queen of Teppen. So overall, I think this deck is gonna stick around, but it's not gonna be as oppressive as it currently is. And it's going to have a little bit more bad matchups still because it loses so much destruction. Oh, look what they did to our boy Uroboros. Rebirth gone. All the cards that you want to be reviving, Tyrant and Gormagala, gone. Cruel Game gone. Living Death gone. So this deck losing all its ways to stabilize, just steamroll its opponent, get cards out for cheap. Rebirth has some replacements, but they're all much higher costs, like 5 MP. I think there might be a 4 MP one, but really it's like 5 MP and up that you're gonna have to commit to getting a unit back. So that's only a 1 MP generation you're getting if you're playing Tyrants and Gormagalas. So we might see like a lot higher end stuff, like Devil Joe coming back, because then you get an 8 for 5, which could be pretty decent. So this deck will definitely have to make a lot of adjustments if it wants to live. I think it could, but it also loses the high roll potential of Living Death, which is pretty important. But it's going to change up a lot. So any Uroboros players, they're going to have to go into the think tank, come up and pull out something new. We haven't seen a lot of the new set at the time of recording this, so I think there is a lot of possibilities, and I have played a version of Uroboros that doesn't use Tyrant and Gore, and it's still pretty solid. But I also think, even though it's going to be around, it's definitely not going to be one of the most popular decks. Shieldspire, our third boy. This is much more hopeful for this deck, right? Compared to the other two, we're not losing that many. It's what, 6, 7, 8 cards only, and they can definitely be replaced. State of Nothingness is going to hurt a little bit because you don't have a way to convert anything into just an instant win. Liberating Slash is going to make it a little bit more difficult for it to just regain life, win a trade war, just take out anything. But there are replacements for that. There are some like maybe 3 cost actions that can do a high amount of damage as well. So it's not going to be as efficient, but it'll still be there. Lucia, arguably the worst legendary in this deck, so we're not too sad about that. Lair is going away, which sucks, but there's a new card which is like maybe better than Lair. It's an MP boost in the new set, but when it dies you get an MP. So like, I was like, man, losing Lair sucks. Like, all the green decks are playing Lair for a lot of the ones that want to generate MP, but we just got a new Lair, so we'll see. A gold orb probably a tech choice in this deck, so I think not that much to think about there. And then Ultra Lady Karen, losing the seal is gonna hurt, definitely gonna hurt, but we're only losing 2 legendaries. Certainly in the new set coming up, there's gonna be a legendary that could fit into this deck. You gotta imagine, right? So I think Shieldspire is here to stay, Red Green Shieldspire, and with the top 2 decks above it getting huge knocks, especially in their viability against this deck, I think we could see Shieldspire being the definitive best deck of the next meta. That's my call. What do you think? Next, we have Yawn. 4 cards, only 4 cards, all legendaries though. Ultra Lady Karen, of course, we just talked about that. She's fantastic. Being able to seal out of nowhere on anything is so good. A-Trans, maybe not that important, so we don't hurt to lose that. Kushala, though, let me tell you, there are so many games that I've played with Yawn where I just slap down the Kushala, we just plop down the Kushala, and he just wins the game. All by himself. He just wins the game all by himself. So losing that, I think, is definitely, you lose a lot of like, haha, I won moments. And the big hurt here is losing Natural Cycle, because this deck right now, even though it's not losing a lot of cards, it's basically built to Natural Cycle. You play Leader Summon, so you get 1 cost 2/2 Jaggies. You play Jake Muller's, the 4/5 with shield after you get memory 4. You just recycle it, play a bunch of action. You got Killer Bee Cammy. You play all these really efficient cards, and then you Natural Cycle, and the Jaggies come back at 1 for 3/3. So efficient. The Jake Mullers are huge. The Felicias are huge. So without Natural Cycle giving this deck the long game, I'm a little concerned for it. Even though it's not losing much, Natural Cycle is just a huge part of its identity. So we'll see how Yawn evolves going forward. Potentially evidence-based deck. We'll see. But with Natural Cycle being there to help give the deck a long game, especially against these slower decks and the revival decks, the black decks, maybe this deck could live in this form even without Natural Cycle. What do you think? I'm a little torn. I'm not liking the chances for Yawn going forward in this specific version. Raging Demon. Now this deck loses basically all the same things that DWP lost, but you also lose Mastery of the Hado. Ignore the blue on Cruel Game. I forgot to do it before, so we did it. We did a little quickie. Now, this deck I think will live on. It doesn't lose a lot of its powerhouses. I think the power of this deck comes from Raging Demon and Tube Foxes a lot, but it does lose the control, which it was so good at. This deck, I think, is going to really struggle, losing Mastery of the Hado, losing a lot of its control elements. You get to keep the key things that make this deck awesome, like Tube Foxes and a Jewel, but if it's not able to control as well, and it doesn't have the absolute powerhouse MP generation of Mastery of Hado, which is 2 free MP, potentially 3 if you get it off blue mana, it's just going to be tough for this deck to adapt and evolve into the new meta. That's all for me today. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hope it gives you an idea of what to play, what to look out for this last week of TEPPEN before the rotation. I'm really excited for it. I can't wait to see the new cards, what new decks are going to be popping up. And what do you guys think is going to be a new top deck? I mean, are Ultimate Weapon, Kikosho, the newly buffed hero arts, are they going to be able to move up and replace DWP and Uroboros? Are DWP and Uroboros going to keep their crowns? Are they going to find ways to adapt and still just dominate the field? It'll be interesting. I'm excited to find that out. And of course, if you enjoyed TEPPENTopDecks.com, you want to use this a little bit more, please, I appreciate it so much if you go to the data submissions and help out. It would just help us get a lot more data, so these are going to be more accurate. And if we get enough, I could make this a bi-monthly thing, so we could see the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks, see how things evolve a little bit more. But as it stands, there's only enough data to go around for basically one of these a month. So until the next month, until the next meta-analysis, you just have to keep on waiting. But keep on learning, having some fun, playing TEPPEN with me here on the Durian channel. And I'll see you in another video. Peace.